Hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Monday, the 13th day of May, 2024. Well, I'll be honest with you here. I've started this a few times. I am in the habit now of rebooting my computer before I do these. On Mondays and Thursdays, I just reboot, whether I think I need to or not. I don't know if it's the geomagnetic storm that we're experiencing. I don't know if that's I would think that that's almost over, but I don't know. I don't know how long these things last. But finally, my computer just died on me. It just froze up, and that's after rebooting it this morning. So I don't know what's going on. So hopefully we'll be able to get through this version of the reading. And I just start over every time now. I don't try to take what I've already been doing. I just start over. So with that, let's begin anew. I hope everybody's doing well, and hope you had a good weekend, and I did, and so that was good. I don't know what's happening with my hair here, but we'll fix that. Yeah. I don't know. I'm letting the runes fall through my hands here, my fingers, and we'll take the last one. Oh, come on. There we go. We have Rado. Rado's the fifth rune of the Elder Futhark. It's about a soul journey. It's about rider and horse. And it's made up of a lot of different runes here. We can see Vunyo, there's Isa, there's Laguz, there's Kenez, actually 3 times, forward and reverse twice. And so it's a bind rune in and of itself, but it means integration. If you think rider and horse, you think about how if you ride a horse, that you can practically, once that horse knows you really well, that's your horse and you're riding it all the time. There's almost this intuition between the rider and horse. And it's the idea of process over the goal. So how you're able, it's not really where you're going with the horse, but how integrated you are with that horse as you're going. You know, sometimes all you have to do is just a slight touch of the rein. They know to turn a certain way, or maybe a slight touch, some increased pressure with your knee or something. It's just ever so slight, and that horse knows exactly what you need to do. So it's harmonious movement, it's rhythm, it's cycles. It can also indicate justice. That's another sort of outlier type of interpretation for Rado. But essentially, I'm more focused on the idea. I really like the idea of process over the goal. I like that type of thing. So you're thinking about a collaborative experience today, but doing it from a higher perspective where ego's not controlling the outcome or the narrative or what have you. So let's throw down the, that'll be for the above side. So let's throw down the 4 geomancy runes for the below side, or the ego side of things. And we'll see if we can find a balance between them, or sometimes it's just flat out opposites. I'm going to put these in the order of fire, air, water, and earth. There's fire, there's air. So, but we have Fortuna Major here. Now, in Geomancy, you've got 8 concepts. You've got 2 sides of the same coin for each one, and so you've got 2 runes for each idea. And so they're opposites. You can call them complements, but at times, like with Albus and Rubius, they're absolute opposites. You've got higher wisdom and you've got misuse of force. But here we have Fortuna Major, and the other one is Fortuna Minor. Fortuna Minor would just be like baby steps. Fortuna Major would be the final outcome. It would be the success. It can also mean ego, but it's the greater fortune versus the lesser fortune of Fortuna Minor. So again, I almost wish I had Fortuna Minor here, because that would be perfect in terms of process over the goal. This would be the goal, essentially the outcome, the successful outcome. It can mean money. Typically it does, but again, fortune can mean all kinds of things. It could mean the friendships that you have, the what you've built for yourself in your life that way, the family structure you have. I mean, that could be your greatest fortune. Understanding how you balance work with personal life, that's a really positive thing to be able to do, and a lot of people don't do that. There's a real imbalance there. But so your greater fortune would maybe be your ability to do that and recognize that your private life, your home life, is just as important as your work life. maybe even more so. So there's a lot of ways of looking at greater fortune here, but I think in terms of Rado, the process you take to get there needs to be one that's collaborative, that's integrative, that respects all persons involved, whether it's a customer and the needs of the customer or the needs of the group itself. If this is at work, the staff themselves, of what they're doing for that customer. So all voices are important. All voices are integrative. The experience is integrative. And when you do that, it promises the greater fortune of Fortuna Major. Maybe it's understanding that the idea of the process over the goal, of the integration you have with other people in all of it. Maybe that's your greatest fortune. So you could look at it that way. So why don't we stop with that interpretation of it and go from there? And look at it as being able to integrate with others is the greatest fortune you can have, because it really it just means you have a lot of support and a lot of different ideas, that you can choose from and integrate into, and in terms of the choices you make and how you're going to get there, essentially how you're going to achieve that goal. Being able to work with others is sometimes not an easy task. Some of us don't like to do that. Some of us prefer an independent focus. And if that's challenging, then maybe this is telling you that, even though it's challenging, it's a viable way of doing things, and it can be a really great way of doing things. And so, you can look at it that way to start out with. Now, we have the Chariot, which is a card from the Major Arcana. It's number 7. Seventh card from that. We have the 8 of Cups, and we have the King of Cups. So we have a run on Cups here, which is the water element, and that's going to be our emotions. It's going to be compassion and love and balance, emotional balance. So I'm going to leave it, I think, in the order that I drew them. I don't know if I'll end up talking about them in the final analysis, putting them into some kind of story. But let's just start with, let's start with the numerology. Let's get that out of the way before I forget. Invariably, I forget. So Rado, we said, was the 5th rune. So that's 5 plus 7 for the Chariot, plus 8 for the 8 of Cups, and the King of Cups does not have a number associated with. Now I've come up with 20, which is 2. Let me do that one more time. So we said we had 5 plus 7 plus 8 equals 20. Okay, I did it right. I'm correct. 20 reduces to 2. So again, that reinforces the idea of balance, of healing, and in terms of the run on Cups, then we're going to stick, I think, with emotional balance here. And so maybe this is a reading where you're normally used to working independently and you're going to have to come together with people. And that may be difficult, but understand that this is a really positive thing. You're going to grow a lot from the experience, and in the end, it's going to be a positive outcome, which would be the Fortuna Major. But again, balance is throughout this entire reading. Let's start with the 7 here, the Chariot. Here we have knowing when to take the reins and when to drop resistance. The balance between that. You have the balance between dark and light here with the Sphinxes. Dark and light generally represents receptive and projective, or active and passive principles, energies. Here you have the balance. I used to think that was a dreidel, but that's actually not what that is. That's the Shiva Linga. That's the lingam, and I can't think of what the round thing is called. But anyway, it's creation basically, but it's creation in balance. Here you have the sun and the wings attached to it. That would be the winged sun, or the winged disc, or the winged sun disc. And so you're talking about emotional balance there and healing. Here you have triplicities implied here. You see the crescent moons on each shoulder, but this right here could be the mother aspect, and so you have the triple aspect of the goddess there, and the balance you have there. You have the square glyph for earth. And so there's some grounding there and balance here. You have the two wheels. Again, the two sphinxes, the two wings. You have the two sections of the castle here. So this whole card is of balance. The 7 alone represents the scales, in my opinion, and letting things come to a rest. I've drawn this out before. Oh, here. This would be an expression of the 7. There we go. Where you've got 3 and 3 is 6 and 1 is 7, but it's a scales. It's a scale, and where you're letting the pans come to rest, so you know what you have. You know whether you need to, and in case of the chariot, whether you need to assert yourself or whether you need to step back and just enter the collaborative experience in a way that's harmonious and integrative. And so again, the higher principle of this, of Rado, and the chariot, because the major arcana, those cards are all considered soul archetype cards, the 22 cards of the major arcana. And so they hold a higher weight than the other cards do, than the minor arcana does, in terms of, these cards and then the court cards. The small cards and the court cards are all part of the minor arcana. In fact, some tarot readers only use the major arcana when they do tarot readings. They don't use the other stuff. And you can do that, if you want to, if you like doing that way. I just do the whole thing. I use the whole deck. But I think in terms of success, knowing when to assert yourself and when to be in a collaborative mode where you're enjoying the conversation of these ideas, the sharing of ideas and whatnot, and coming up with something together. There's times when that's preferable, and Rado is suggesting that right now, whatever's going on in your life, that's what you're going to want to do. You're going to know how to drop resistance and add to the situation in a collaborative way instead of an assertive, okay, here's what we need to do kind of way. And although sometimes in collaborative experiences a leader will emerge, the leader needs to know that this is still a collaborative experience and it's not that person's show, essentially. So we'll leave that there, and let's go on to the 8 of Cups. This is an interesting card. 8 is about material recognition and approval. It's also about strength and leadership. And again, having the strength to walk away from emotions that have either informed you as much as they can, or maybe they don't serve you anymore. I find this interesting. It always seems like there should be a 9th cup here, and maybe the 9th cup is all of what he's taking away with him. He's taking the 9th cup, if you will, with him, and it takes the inner strength that he has to get everything in order, to get his emotions in order. You can see he's over by the ocean. You can see the rocks that are coming up, the big rocks that are there. You see smaller ones in his path here. He's walking upward. You can tell here from his feet and leaning forward with his staff there, his walking stick, that he's walking away from the emotions here, and he's walking uphill. So it's going to be challenging to do that. There's some challenges in his way, some rocks in his way, but he'll move around them. He's got all of this behind him. That's his emotional strength he's taking with him. All that he's learned, he can leave behind the rest. And again, he may represent the 9th card that's missing, right? You see the moon above. The moon is watching him as he's going along his new journey. But the idea that if you're used to working independently, if you're not willing to give that up and the decision making and all of that, then you're missing out on a very rich experience that collaboration can give you, and harmony with others can give you. Again, knowing when to assert yourself and when to step back and just be part of the group. And it doesn't mean that within the group, again, that you can't assert yourself, but you have to do it in a way where you're not trying to take over the whole thing. Unless the group wants you to, that would be another issue. But we'll just say, for the sake of argument at this point, that that no, this is a lesson you need to learn. I've had several readings of late that are like this, where it talks about this. So I think that that's an issue for people. Again, where if you're someone who likes to work alone, you may go to the group experience kicking and screaming, but in the end, you may decide, wow, that was pretty cool. I kind of like that. I still like working alone, but if I have to do that, that's actually a nice way to do it. And that's hopefully what you come out of this with. Again, with Fortuna Major, it's suggesting that that's really your greatest fortune, is being able to combine together with others, to unify with others, collaborate with others to make something happen, that's bigger than all of you. And the success that you have is because you've all worked together, and it's been a really positive experience, right? Now we have the King of Cups, which is an interesting guy. Now, he's spiritual, he's generous, he's wise, he's loving. Again, I have a problem with the kings because they don't seem to look you in the eye in the Rider-Waite. but he's very emotional. He's basically floating on the water. So as to how trustworthy he is, there's not a lot of it's not like he's sitting on the ground where he's grounded in his emotions. Here you have some choppy seas behind him. You can see a boat over here. If I wouldn't cover it up with my finger, you can see it right there. And his scepter also has a little cup on the top of it. His crown fans out like a cup would. Even the back of his throne sort of fans out like a cup would. So he's very water oriented. And unfortunately, he can also be somewhat passive aggressive, and he can. So he's not particularly trustworthy, because you can't necessarily trust what he has to say. But when he's your friend, though, he's your friend, and he's, you can pretty well count on him to be compassionate and supportive and all of that. But it's just that sometimes, he's not particularly, if he's ill-dignified, he's not emotionally grounded. And I think that he's not particularly in balance. And so if this represents you, the querent in the reading, in other words, the person who's asking for the reading, it could be that your own inner authority is such that not too dependable, not too sure about this situation, and maybe you're not really somebody who trusts the situation itself as collaborative experience. But again, overall, the Chariot is telling you need to do that. You need to know when to assert yourself and when to step back and be part of the group. And again, if you're letting go of emotions that have either informed you all that they can, you're taking with yourself what you need from the whole experience of leaving everything else behind. You're starting a new path, and that may be difficult, and you may have trouble coming to terms with it as the king. The inner authority would be to express the generosity of spirit that you also possess, and allow this collaborative experience, this integrative experience, to go forward, and to be as compassionate and kind and loving and spiritual. Think of it as a spiritual test, if you will, and be that person, right? That's not going to undermine, that's not going to try to sabotage the whole thing just so you can have control over it all, right? And so that would be the challenge. I would say with the King of Cups would be the challenge, to let go of the stuff that's making you concerned about this whole collaborative experience and come back into harmony with other people. Again, it may be something that you're not accustomed to, that you just don't like to do, and that's fine in and of itself. But you may not be able to control the situation all of the time, and there may be times where it really is best to be one of the crowd in the whole thing, and to be a voice there, but not the only voice. And don't try to undermine the whole thing so that you can be the one to control everything. Try not to do that. So that would be one way of looking at the king. The other way is looking at the king as somebody who, using that inner authority to express yourself in a way that is compassionate and supportive, and you're all in basically to this experience. Um, but the other side of it is that if this is something you don't like to do, you may try to take control when that's not what's needed here, and to drop resistance to it, because you're going to be successful with this collaborative experience, at least in terms of this reading, and what you gain from it, what you grow from it, what you grow, how you grow from the whole experience, will then be something that you can take with you for the next time, you know. But maybe in terms of the situation, even though it may be challenging, you've got him walking uphill, even though it might be challenging and it's unknown, you've never done this before, or maybe when you have, it's just been a big free-for-all and nothing got done. Well, that doesn't have to be that way this time. You can leave the emotions behind, take with you what you need, the inner strength that you need to come together in this group experience, as scary as it might be, and realize there's a lot of ways to get there, to get to your Fortuna Major, to the positive outcome. And, it may take a lot of conversation between everybody to get you there, but in the end, what you learn, how you grow, and what you achieve probably couldn't have happened without it being a group experience. So, again, the reading's overall numerology is a 2. Again, that's balance, it's decisions, it's love, it's compassion, it's healing. Maybe whatever has caused you to want to just work independently and, that's how I do things, maybe that came from something. Maybe that's a response to something else that happened in the past for you, where you just feel like, what, it's just better. My mother was that way. She was somebody who would just say, oh, just get out of the way and I'll do it myself. Because, I'll do it better. That was the underlying thing. She's, well, I'll do it better, Now, she didn't say that to anybody but me, but that was her attitude. Just please, just get out of my way. I'll get it done. It'll be better. But it's the attitude of, she's the only one that can do it. Well, that's not true. I mean, so that was something I grew up with. It's like, well, okay, then that's a little insulting, Mom, but whatever. So, but I think that's kind of the issue for people. Or you could just be somebody with a lot of Mars energy that you just like to assert yourself. You're a leader. You just get things done, and you like to call the shots. And learning how to work as part of a group where you're not the only one whose voice matters, that's a good thing. And I think that, again, I've had a lot of these readings lately. Every so often, every few readings, I'll get one like this. And I think it's just to remind people that, coming together in unity and harmony can be a good thing. And it doesn't have to be scary. You don't lose yourself in it, or what you have to offer. All voices are heard. Maybe your idea isn't the one that y'all go with, but that's okay too. Again, learning to work within a group means that sometimes, but it doesn't mean that along the way you're not going to have an idea that makes the whole process better. So there's something to be learned from a situation like that, and I think that the fact that it keeps coming up in these readings, I think it just means that this is a thing for people, just for human beings. You're either somebody that wants to control everything or you're not, and I'm sure there's some shades of gray in between, but it really comes down to that dichotomy. And so again, I think that probably, in terms of the king here, I think the 8 is really influencing the king's decision to let go of emotions that, are not going to, they're only going to get in the way of this whole thing, where you're trying to control when you shouldn't. And I think the Chariot is describing that as well, knowing when to control and when to let go. And because the Chariot also kind of indicates victory as well. movement, mastery, surrender versus control. It can also indicate the Merkaba. You can see the Merkabas up on the drape up here. A lot of the time in the Rider-Waite, they'll draw the stars as Merkabas. And some of them are Merkabas and some of them are stars. But the idea is that higher awareness is guiding that whole decision, instead of just having a positive outcome and feeling good about yourself and I'm the one who did it. In this case, Rado's suggesting no, this has got to be some kind of collaboration. So anyway, I guess that's it. I don't think I need another card here. It's just that it can be a hard thing to do when you're not used to it, when you prefer not to. My husband's a bit of an independent worker, and it's not that he can't work with other people. He can, but he's sort of in his head about things, and it's just easier for him if he just does things and he'll let you know when he's done. And so, maybe this is a good reading for him as well. I'm kind of either way. I can do either one, do things myself or work with other people. As long as they're actually working. If they're not, if they're just sitting around and I'm doing all the work anyway, that irritates me. But that's not really collaborative, is it? It's just them watching me or doing whatever they're doing while I'm doing all the work. But yeah, I think that this sort of all dovetails together with the numerology, and and on the 13th day, 1 and 3 is 4. So, that's a different type of structure, different type of foundation, isn't it? Different type of grounding, that you might experience in a situation like this. So, if this is something you're dealing with, think about it in terms of, am I the kind of person that just naturally gravitates toward collaborative experiences, the kumbaya moment of it all, or am I somebody that really just likes to work alone, and this is going to be hard for me, so what do I need to do to get there, and how do I need to behave when I'm there? I think that the reading just kind of gives you that idea to let go of the emotional need to control, and see the value in the collaboration. So I guess that's it. We're done. Thanks for watching, and I'm so glad nothing froze up on me here, and hopefully I can turn this off and I won't have to reboot and all of that, so I can actually then look at it again and make sure I said everything right, and while I'm uploading it to YouTube here. But anyway, have a good week, and we'll get together on Thursday again for another reading, and it'll either be an extension of this one or something new. We'll see. The ones where they're an extension of Monday's reading, those are always interesting, because you can really see how, okay, you're still dealing with this situation, and here's some more information about how to do that. So that's kind of an interesting way to look at this too during the week. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just, okay, we dealt with this on Monday, now we're going to do something new on Thursday. So anyhow, check out the blog over at Stepping Aside. The web address there is imsteppingaside.com. Other than the readings, I do write-ups on the readings there. The stuff I post for the week goes out on Sunday nights, early Sunday morning, I should say, in the midnight hour. And the forecast is up. The astrological overview is there. The daily correspondences for work and magic, that's there. That's actually quite comprehensive for each day. And then also I'm getting toward the end of the Exploring Tarot series. I look at one card a week. And just give some general interpretations of what it means and what it is reversed and all of that. So that's all up on the blog. I also post most of that over on Patreon, Medium, and Substack. On Substack, it's called Witch Notes. And otherwise on Patreon and Medium, it's under my name, Jan Erickson. If you forget what the web address is, click on More below the video, and it's right there when you open up that window. Along with some other things, you can scroll down everywhere I am on social media and all those other publishing sites. It's all on there as well if you forget. So have a good day, have a good next few days, and come back again on Thursday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.